All right, friends, it's time to give you loyal listeners a discount on protein powder. You may or may not know, but I launched my very first protein powder 2 years ago. It's a grass-fed beef isolate with only 3 ingredients: grass-fed beef, either organic cacao or organic vanilla, and organic monk fruit. Now, if you don't want any of the added flavor and sweeteners, you can also just get unflavored. And no matter what flavor you choose, you're getting over 23 grams of protein per scoop, which is going to keep you full and satisfied between meals. I love starting my day with a Fab4 smoothie and breaking my fast with that much protein. It makes a serious difference in my cravings and blood sugar balance the rest of the day, and I've seen it with my clients as well. Now, I never thought I'd own a product company, but when I got pregnant with Sebastian, I realized the majority of protein powders were chemically extracted or enzymatically extracted, and I wanted to use heat and water only. I wanted minimal ingredients because we don't need those emulsifiers, fillers, or added vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. All of those additions increase the chances that it's not going to work for your body, whether it be bloating, digestion issues. I just wanted pure, clean protein to keep you full and satisfied so you could build the most delicious Fab4 smoothie. And I have to say, I'm pretty proud of the flavor. If you take a look at our reviews on Amazon, you'll see 5-star reviews for flavor. And that is key, because if you don't love your Fab4 smoothie and you don't love drinking your protein powder, you're not going to do it. It won't become a habit, and it's consistency that outpaces everything. So if you're here and you're listening and you want to give our protein powder a try, use the code podcast5 for $5 off your order. And let me know if you love it. My favorite ways to apply this protein powder is in my Fab4 smoothie, making freezer fudge, making chocolate milk, making hot chocolate, and throwing the unflavored into all my kids' baked goods. So let me know how you use it. Let me know if you love it, and share this podcast deal with your friends. Today's guest is David Nurse. He's an NBA life and optimization coach and worldwide motivational speaker. As a former professional basketball player, both international and domestic, and as a coach for the Brooklyn Nets, David has personally helped over 100 NBA players with their personal and professional development, both on and off the court. He has been invited to speak in 51 different countries on topics of overall personal development, confidence building, leadership, and motivational growth. He wrote the book Pivot and Go, and his new book, Breakthrough, is now up for pre-sale. Let's welcome David Nurse to the show. David, welcome to the show. I'm so excited about today's podcast. You wrote your first book, Pivot and Go, and now we have Breakthrough coming out. You are a optimization coach, and you work with NBA players. And you've worked with over 100 NBA players to optimize their life on and off the court. I'm not an NBA player. I like to play one on TV, but I'm a little too short. No, but I want to welcome you to the show, and I want to optimize my life. I want to help our listeners optimize theirs. So thank you for spending your time with me today and giving us the good stuff.
Kelly, of course. I am a huge fan of your show, and I'm not just saying that, like literally talking offline, you telling me what kind of smoothie blender to use. I mean, like I've already had the biggest breakthrough of the day. So anything else is the cherry on top. But yeah, super excited, and let's get into it for sure.
Okay, so we have to start here. What is a life optimization coach?
Yeah, a life optimization coach is a title that I self-created because I figured, like, why just be a life coach? There's so many life coaches out there. There's so many coaches out there. And whenever I hear that term, I'm just like, ugh. Really? You're going to help me change my life? You're going to coach me in my life, and I know my life way better than you. So life optimization is just about adding small pieces, adding small optimization pieces to people's lives. So for NBA players, what it's been, and that's my whole background, is working with NBA players, coaching the NBA, and we can get into that whole story of how I got there and thinking I was an NBA player, kind of like you were thinking you're an NBA player. Hey, we both can live in that imagination. That's fine. But anyways, it's about having these players function at their highest level every single night they step on the floor. So imagine you're a science lab beaker. You want to be filled at 100% every single day. For anybody out there listening, every single day, optimize your most energy, your most passion every single day. So with NBA players, it was, yes, their skill set, our strengths, what we do, what we are made to do, our God-given gifts, and then how to take it to another level, meaning the nutrition, And you would be blown away by NBA players not understanding nutrition. I've had conversations with guys. I was like, yeah, you know what? Eat a whole box of cereal and some pasta right before the game. Get that carb loading on. They'll be like, really? Seriously? I'm like, no. So just understanding how their body functions with nutrition, sleep, and the biggest piece over the past 4 to 5 years that I've really focused on with all my players and more sports and CEOs and actors and all these people is the mindset. And the mindset, I'm here to tell you, is everything. If you want to optimize your life, it is all about the mindset. And we can dive into all these tools to help you.
Well, let's do it, because I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of us are inundated with information about nutrition, about sleep hygiene, and they're working out, or they're incorporating fasting, or they're incorporating, strength training. They have all these tools in their toolbox, but it's their mindset that impacts their ability to succeed and to really, I want to say, rocket ship to the next level, their business, their brand, their life. So how do we work on our mindset? How do we even understand if our mindset is a roadblock?
Oh, such a great question. So yeah, let's start this off here. When you're thinking about this, listening to this podcast, think about, like, where are you holding yourself back? And most of us are. We have a God-given gift that we are here to be able to use. For you, it is teaching people about how to live a healthier life. You do such a phenomenal job at it. Me, it's NBA players and encouraging, motivating, but most of us hold it back. Like, we're our biggest defenders, because we have, on average, Kelly, 50,000 self-talk thoughts per day. A lot of studies been done. That's the average. 80% of those are negative. So think about it in your life. 40,000 negative self-talk thoughts floating throughout your mind. First off, we have to counteract that. We have to pivot that, and we can. So I'm going to give you a tool that you have with you at all times, and it's your hands. So everybody, go through these actions with me as you're listening to this. So when you wake up in the morning, you'll walk by a mirror. I'm hoping you do. You go take a shower, brush your teeth. That mirror is the mirror of self-doubt. It's a foggy mirror. So you imagine the mirror being foggy. Now, this self-doubt is what we wake up with. This is the imposter syndrome. It's the, you know what, why me? Or I'm not good enough to do this. We get that decision to let that self-doubt control our day and who we are and the story we tell ourselves, or we can simply stand there and you wipe away the self-doubt. So literally, visually, use your hands to wipe away that foggy mirror. Exactly. I compare it to the power stance. You know, when they say if you stand powerful in a certain way, it makes you feel more confident. I don't know if it really does, but I know the hands in the foggy mirror work. So that's the first thing. Now you've taken away the self-doubt. You're understanding your self-awareness, that it's not based on the results, it's not based on a resume, it's not based on anything like that. You understand who you are, who you're made to be. Because the next part is you're going to open a door, probably walk up the stairs or somewhere you're going to open a door. When you open that door, you look at your hands and you say the word serve. They say the word serve when you open a door. So it's going to put your subconscious into the frame of mind that when you walk into that room, it's not about you. It has nothing to do with what you can get out of it, but everything that can serve others. And the cool thing is, like, this works twofold. It takes a ton of pressure off you. Think about it. When you walk into the room, you're like, man, I got to meet this guy. I'm like, I'm here to connect. And you're so stressed. But if you walk in there thinking like, oh, how can I provide value? How can I serve people in here? It always comes back to you. It takes the pressure off, and it always comes back to you. So you say that word, serve. Look at your hands and say the word serve. And I like to bring this back to the NBA. My favorite player growing up, who I thought I was going to be like, Steve Nash, because he's my height. He's not that athletic. I mean, I think I'm better looking, but he had a better career. Anyways, they take a stat in the NBA, my favorite stat, high fives given. Literally, they take the stat of how many high fives you give a game. Steve Nash averaged 239 high fives per game. Incredible, 239. Like, he was called the best teammate that anybody ever played with. And he got players $100 million deals that really had no business getting that type of money, because he was always encouraging. Now, he wasn't just rah-rah positivity. Like, some people think positivity is so airy-fairy. Oh, just smile. No, he was supporting and also challenging. Like, that's what the best leaders do. So you look at your hands, say the word serve, okay, when you walk into the room. And then when you're in that room, hey, give some high fives. Like, who ever gave high fives in a room and everybody was just feeling terrible? Like, it's literally like forcing yourself to smile, where it makes you feel in a happier, more joyful state. So be that person that can give high fives. And if you're completely locked in and you're on Zoom and you're in this just chamber by yourself and you can't get out like we've been in for the past 2 years, text somebody, video message somebody. I do something that I call my big three, where I'll message 3 people every single morning. I might not have talked to them for a while, and it could be a voice memo, it could be a video message, or just a specific text to them, just letting them know, like, hey, I'm thinking of you. I know you're doing amazing things. If there's any way I can help you, I'm here for you. And the response I've got from a lot of those, it's been just like life-changing for some. Like, man, wow, I needed this. Like, I've been going through so much, because we have no idea what people are going through. We literally don't. And everybody is going through something. So being that person that can support and also challenge when needed too. So our hands, we've got our wipe away the foggy mirror, self-confidence, self-awareness. That's true confidence. Service hands, open the door. Who are you serving? Open up your laptop, hop on Zoom, look at your hands. Getting that subconscious to serve. High five, support and challenge. And the last one, just simply look at your hands and you see the grooves, all these lines. Like, if you really look in depth at your hands and palms, there's a lot of lines there. They're all different. It's like a snowflake. They're all different. So understanding you are different, that is a great thing. You have a different gift than everybody else. And the greatest thing you can do, your purpose, is pouring into that. Like, if God gives you this amazing gift and you're just like, you know what? God, it's too scary. It's too risky to go take this on. Like, I'm going to just hold this in. Like, that's the biggest slap in the face you can give. So look at these hands, understand you are different, embrace that, and also see on those hands, there's probably some calluses, some cuts, maybe some scars. Like, you've been through a lot. We all have been through a lot. And everything you've been through, you have gotten through. Guess what? You're going to get through the next thing. So that's the actions with the hands that we have. So and there's no excuses. We have those with us at all times.
I love it. I'm a visual learner. I love things in my home to cue me to do things. I mean, down to like my morning routine. I love that grabbing a cup of coffee, I grab for my almond milk or my creamer. I see my omega-3s. It reminds me to take my supplements. It's in my smoothie cabinet. It reminds me to make my smoothie. Like, things, I need those cues. I need those cues in my life to get my mindset, or to get my routine right. And now you're helping me get my mindset right. That is definitely not the time I am taking to set my mind right. I am jumping into my day and trying to make it happen. But these wipe away my doubt, using my hands to serve others, high fives. I mean, that's a great takeaway for me as a mom immediately, with my husband and my boys. Like, what are they doing? What's going good? I always want to support them. And then how I'm different, like embracing that. There are definitely times, and you hit the nail on the head, where people have fears, where something holds them back and it makes them scared because they're looking at other people and they're comparing themselves, and they aren't embracing how they're different and thinking they're good enough. They're afraid of it. So can we talk about that, the boogeyman in the room, fear, like, and how it holds us back and how we get over that?
Oh, totally. So number one, fear is the biggest liar, plain and simple, the biggest liar. And I want to talk into that gift you've been given, the purpose that you have, and fully going all out. Like, I talk about being obsessed. Obsessed people think, whoa, don't say that word. You don't want to be obsessed. You got to be balanced. You got to be 80-20. No, I don't want to be 80-20 loving my wife. I don't want to be 80-20 in my mission that I'm on. So, like, understanding that it doesn't matter if your gift is to run a Fortune 500 company, or it's to be the absolute best coffee maker down at the local barista guy, where he's just checking, inspecting the beans. He's like, at 37 degrees Fahrenheit, this thing was roasted in the deep hills of Chile. Like, I love that. That's his gift. And it encourages others to be able to pour into their passion, their gift. So understanding that fear will always be there. Fear is there with everybody, even the biggest of the big names when they step on stage. Like, I've talked to all the the big speakers, like they get nervous. People get nervous. The big actors, they're scared out there. So fear is always there. But it's a choice. And this is our superhero power. Like literally, this is the most powerful superhero power that we have is choice. Every morning you wake up with the decision to, okay, is fear going to win? Do I accept this fear as a truth? Or do I pivot it and say, I'm going to live with faith? So instead of living in the, oh man, worst case scenario type of living like a lot of us do, and I'm here to tell you, like 98%, it's another study, 98% of your worst case scenarios don't end up happening. But 98% of us are worrying about these things. So that understanding alone is it's not going to happen. And you can live in, instead of this fear and like, man, well, gosh, I'm so scared about what's coming next. Live in the excitement. Live in the excitement, like the anticipation. And I'm going to bring this full circle here with how I teach people to live in the present. And this kind of negates fear is you accept the past. The past is what it is. There's literally no way you can change it. I don't think there's a time machine yet, but there's no way you can change it. You accept it and you either take it from like, oh my gosh, my past was so difficult. Like, I feel like, I'm from small town, middle of nowhere cornfields of Iowa. Like I could use that as an excuse. And we can all use these as excuses. Or you take the past, like, you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to learn from what I didn't like that happened to me. I didn't like how my parents might have raised me. I didn't like this or this and this. And I'm going to use it for my gain, for others' gain. So you accept the past, you appreciate the present. One of the hardest things to do, appreciate the present. We all want to be at that next level. We want to be at that next place. But literally, it's cliche to say, be where your feet are, look at your feet. But it's cliche for a reason. Like if you do the absolute best you can with where you're at right now, I promise you it's going to lead to so much more. But if you have these big dreams and then these little jobs are too little for you, you'll never get to the big dreams. So just appreciate it. Take a breath, appreciate the present, and anticipate the future. Anticipate the future like you're a little kid. You're about to go to Disney World. You're so excited about it. Disney World is all about the anticipation because once you get there, it's not as fun as you think. Anyways, anticipate it instead of fear it. So hopefully that kind of brings full circle on like fear it's self-created, really. And we can go in more too. When you talked about cue words and different types of words, like we create the definitions of these certain words by the way we are raised. But we don't have to live in those certain definitions. Like fear doesn't have to mean fear. Success does not mean a ton of money. It doesn't mean a big bank account. That's not what success looks like. A rich life, same thing. It's whatever you decide it to be.
That's a really interesting segue. I mean, you worked with some of the richest athletes in the United States. When you're working with them to optimize their life, how often are their goals financial?
Yeah, great question. So everybody learns on a different way and is motivated by something different. So they might think their goals are financial to start off. They might think their goals are hit all-star level, hit this $200 million max deal contract, but it never is. Because once they hit it, and I've been around a lot of players that have hit that, and I calculated not too long ago, I've worked with $3.2 billion of on-court players, which is incredible, a ton of money. But that's never been what anybody has their contentment in and has their joy in. And that at the core is what I mean by optimization too. As much as you can look at like, oh, it's optimizing these players for the performance, it's optimizing people for performance, it's optimizing people to live in a life rhythm, a life of true joy, where you're actually waking up excited to do what you do for a bigger reason than you. And if you only are trying to find your contentment in how much money you can make, I'm here to tell you, nobody in the history of ever has found contentment in their bank account.
Amen. I love that you just said that they're never going to find their contentment in their bank account. So how do you help your clients find contentment in their life and optimize for their goals?
Yeah. And it's a great question. It's what I call the breakthrough formula. So when you think about breakthroughs, and ask yourself this question out there listening, like, do you want to find a breakthrough in your life? It needs to be the first question. And it can be small, it can be massive. Like, how do you find your goals, or how do you find your life joy? How do you find your life rhythm? And breakthrough, that word, that term seems very abstract, and it's tough to get a grasp on. It's usually these little happy accidents, flashes in the pan that you're like, man, that was cool. Like, I hope that happens again. Like, that was good luck, but we don't know how to recreate it. So living the life that you've always wanted to live, reaching your goals, which I like to say that it's bigger than goals. You're actually on a mission. Goals are just great mile markers to lead you to that mission. But it comes down to this formula. And this has been tried and true over years of working with these high-level, high-performance NBA players, coaches, and all these guys. Is the first part of the formula is confidence. And this is confidence, like we touched on, is not the way you think about it as it's these resumes, it's these stats, but confidence truly comes from understanding who you are, your true self-awareness. So I'll give you a quick story on this that'll really show what this means, and then we'll go into the next few points of the formula so you guys can have this formula in your hands, in your back pocket with your hands to be able to use daily. So a good friend of mine, really good friend of mine, is Jeremy Lin. And Jeremy went through this time in 2011, 2012 called Linsanity, which basically he took over the NBA. He came out of complete obscurity for the New York Knicks, was about to get cut 3 days prior, and then he comes in and he's taking advantage of his opportunity. He's going for 30-point games, game winners. Like, he's on top of the basketball world. He's the #1 trending thing in the world on Twitter for weeks on weeks, magazines, all of this stuff. And if Jeremy was being honest with you, he would never want to go through this time again. And he's at the proverbial top of the mountain. So think about it. This would be like all these Instagram followers, all these TikTok, all this money, all this fame. But instead of living in the appreciation and self-awareness of who he was living in the what ifs. What if I can't keep this up? What will people think of me? Like, what if I don't keep this pace that I'm performing at? Like, are people going to forget me? So that's all too real for us. We've all felt that what if. We've all felt that, oh God, I got to get my confidence from making this amount of money per month. But the biggest breakthrough that I've seen for Jeremy in his life and helping him come into his own is understanding who he is and what he stands for is so much more than basketball, is so much more than your business card, is so much more than your identity of what others around you say it is. His is that he stands for his Taiwanese people, his faith in Jesus. And Kelly, you'll love this. He thinks he's a great gourmet chef in the kitchen, which is highly debatable. But point being, he understands his self-awareness. So that when you're trying to put together your ultimate life, it starts with the basis, the foundation of self-awareness. Now, the next piece is cooperation. So when we think about cooperation, we're like, okay, yeah, teamwork, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. But cooperation in the sense of you focus on your strengths. We hit on these God-given gifts and abilities we have. You have a strength. And far too often we are told that we are weaknesses. We have to level up. We have to raise our weaknesses. Weaknesses are just a compliments wish list. You put yourself together with different people with different strengths. That's how it makes this ultimate culture. That's how it makes this 98 Bulls best NBA team in history. We got Michael Jordan, the best scorer, Scottie Pippen, the best wingman, Steve Kerr, the best shooter, Dennis Rodman, the best crazy man that shows up with different colored hair every night. Like that, you put together these different pieces. And it's almost from the sense of, Kelly, like misfits. You know, you're not necessarily looking for the people that are just going to rah, yes, man, you, agree with you, in the same field as you. But cooperation is getting this whole different gamma. And I like to bring it back to this analogy of Katz Deli. So Katz Deli is a famous place in New York City. And it has this Reuben sandwich there that is just phenomenal. Like, it's so good. But when I think about it, like, I hate rye bread. I hate Swiss cheese. I hate pastrami. I hate sauerkraut. I do not want to touch any of those. But put together, these misfits put together, this Reuben sandwich from Katz Deli is incredible. And it just goes to show you, like, these different strengths that we have, we put them together for this ultimate cooperation. And that's what leads us to our goals, to our success, to our mission, because we cannot do it alone. So we have our self-awareness, confidence. You find these people in your lives that are going to, like we talked about, challenge and support you. These different people, these misfits, that's our cooperation. The third piece of the formula is service. Like, why the heck are you doing what you are doing? Because if you're only doing it for yourself, like we talked about, you'll never be content. So you figure out where you can serve, but not service in the way you're thinking of, oh, you know what, I'm going to go down to my local food bank. I'm going to serve here. I'm putting my time here. No, true service is about serving when it's not convenient for you. It's about being in a conversation with somebody that it's not on your schedule, but they need you. Are you going to truly serve them? And crazy breakthroughs happen when you live in this mode, of this service mode, because you have your self-awareness, you have your cooperation, the team around you. Now you know the service. And I just give you a quick story on this. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm really passionate about this part specifically and how the breakthroughs happen from this. When I was coaching in the NBA with the Brooklyn Nets, we were playing the Dallas Mavericks down in Dallas, and I love being the first person on the floor. Before anybody else is out there, it's just kind of my ambiance to myself. And this time I wasn't the first person out there. There was another guy on the other side of the floor shooting hoops in these old jeans, raggedy shoes. And I walk by him to my side, and he turns and says, you know, the older you get, the legs go. And being a shooting coach, like, I had to counteract that because that's not true. Couldn't let that slide. And now I didn't want to get in this 15, 20-minute lesson with this guy, but I'd been challenged 3 weeks prior from a friend to live in the service mode, meaning if I could help somebody, and teaching people how to shoot a basketball is one of my God-given gifts, I would do that. So I gave this guy a few tips, showed him how to get more range on his shot, how to get more momentum in, and he was making more shots, and he's super excited. He's pumped up. Now, the real players had to start coming out and warming up for the game, so we had to get off. And I said, yo, you know what? Look, if you want more drills, more than happy to email some over to you. And he's like, yeah, for sure. Pulls out his business card, hands it to me. I put it in my pocket on my way, just so I can get 5 minutes before the game, quiet time to myself. And I'm curious. And before tip-off, I reach into my pocket to pull out that business card, and it reads, Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I just been helping Mark Cuban harness his inner power for something he was passionate about. And literally, like, cut me some slack. Shark Tank was not big at the time. So it wasn't the Shark Tank like everybody knows now. My wife's an actor out here in LA, and anytime we see somebody famous, I have no idea who they are. So I'm not like, I don't know that. And this was Mark Cuban. This is the most powerful guy in business. And now I can email him and for any business advice or ask him for advice. But this only happened because I lived in this service mode. And understanding that not every person that you live in the service mode with is going to be Mark Cuban and treat everybody like they are the most important person. But that's how breakthroughs happen, living in service mode. So you have your self-awareness, confidence. You have your cooperation, looking for different pieces to put together to complement your strengths. You have your true service mode. And the last piece is just that purpose that we talked about. It's just what I call the search for your eminence. Like, that is your greatness. That is your gift, your purpose that you're going to make into your mission, but doing it with relentless consistency. Relentless consistency. If you take any term away from this podcast, let it be that. Like, if you do these things one time, if you do these habits that you teach in the nutrition space, the health and wellness, if you do them one time, 2 times, great, that's cool and all, but it's never going to sustain what you want. It's never going to lead to where you actually want to get to. So relentless consistency is showing up day after day, putting in your system that you have, which is this formula, with the process, which are your habits, day after day after day, focusing on those. And that leads to the results, with the understanding that it's not going to come quick. And you don't even want your success to come quick, like quote unquote success. You don't want it to come quick, because if it does, you'll burn out. You haven't built those deep roots. The longer it takes, the more roots you build. 10 years to become an overnight success. Everybody's heard it. Like, I'll give you a quick example. My uncle coaches for the Toronto Raptors, won the NBA championship a couple years ago in his first year as an NBA head coach. And everybody's like, whoa, lucky, lightning struck in a bottle, amazing. Now, he'd been coaching for 27 years prior as a head coach in small colleges, countries overseas like England and Belgium, where you don't even know they play basketball. And I saw him over there popping popcorn at halftime, literally taping players' ankles. But he lived in this relentless consistency of the understanding he was going to be an NBA head coach. Even cut out a picture and replaced it and put him on the fridge holding up an NBA trophy. So he lived in this daily, relentlessly consistent. So wrapping it all up, long story short, the formula is simple and seamless to live in. Not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but once you get it down, understanding your self-awareness daily, a way to do that, a tool, you can just wipe away the foggy mirror, understand what you stand for. Cooperation, your team. I mean, this could be right in there with the high fives, figuring out who those people that will challenge and support you, not just be yes men to you. Service, your true service, telling yourself, hey, even though it's not on my time, it's somebody might need me. And then purpose with relentless consistency. You hit those, you are living in the breakthrough mode to live the life you always dream of. Not just talk about it, but actually live in it.
You know, it really rings true for me personally. Like just even looking back at my business, I love the story of Mark Cuban because that's exactly how I met Jessica Alba. That's how I landed. My first celebrity client was working a party for free and giving her makeup artist free advice. Spent more on my outfit, taking the day off of my corporate job, and it changed my life. So that really rings true to me. And my question for people listening is there a balance? Like, how do we balance servicing and saying yes to everyone else and also having boundaries for our goals so that we move the needle forward?
So good. And I love that rings true in your life with that too, because it is often the times where we just take these chances and we bet on ourselves and we take these risks on ourselves that end up paying themselves back tenfold by just serving. Like you probably didn't expect anything out of that. And I'm sure it kickstarted a lot of what you do. So yes, but that is a great question. That's where I'll come back to the word obsessed. So balance and obsessed, meaning you keep the most important things, the most important. You have your non-negotiables, and you literally weigh things on a scale. And it's the scale of interested versus the scale of committed. Now, the committed, like for me, is time with my wife. If there's something that's going to take away from that might just be something I'm interested in, like a dinner that I feel like I should be at. And like it's one of the hardest things is saying no and turning down what could be potentially good opportunities. But I know what my committed are. I know that if it's something that's going to move the needle in like my main buckets, speaking, writing books, NBA coaching, personal coaching, that's what's going to be more in the committed. Nothing surpasses God and my wife. Those are the 1 and 2. And then everything else comes in the committed. Everything else comes in the interested. Now I can look at those interested and I can funnel those out. I'm looking at like, okay, am I taking on too much on my plate? Is this really something that I really want to put time into? And that's when you get to make your decisions from there. But also in this understanding that you have to say no to make your yes more powerful. And I know that's another cliche thing to say, but it is so true. Like when you make yourself seem like you are, maybe even like better in your space than you actually are, people are going to live in that as well. If you make yourself a harder person to reach, like for me, like I'll do text messages in the morning, emails in the morning, and emails in the evening. Just I have them blocked out on these schedules. Like I'm not doing it all the time, so people get this understanding that I'm not accessible all the time. You can't reach me all the time. If a boss emails you at 8:00 at night, don't answer it, because then they're going to expect that. You protect your time. You control your calendar and don't let it control you. And a great tool that I have for that is what I call the time pizza. The time pizza, you have this big circle, this pizza, and it's sliced into 24 hours, 24 slices. And you can fill those slices. The first one I want you guys to do is fill it with what it is now. And you got 8 hours of sleep. Let's say you got 8 hours of work. You got to commute. You got time making food. And you put all these pieces to see where your time is allocated, work out, and you'd be surprised how much free time you have. Now, if you're literally on like 26, 27 hours, like, man, then you have to dial it back. So the biggest thing you can take away from this is just understanding, like, hey, make your non-negotiables what you're totally committed to, what something does not get in the way of. Because often us as high performers and high achieving people, we try to be everything for everyone. And then in doing so, it takes away from being the person that we want to be for the actual people that mean the most to us. So weigh things on your interested versus committed scale.
Well, you mentioned main buckets being God and your wife. And those are the things that you're the most committed to. How many main buckets do you advise your clients to have? And how do we start to, it seems like these are the North Star of where we should be spending our time, where we should be chopping up our pizza and dedicating a slice or two too. Like how many main buckets can we have? And if someone was just like, I want to have a major breakthrough, I want to be doing what I love, I got the confidence, cooperation, service, I'm going to be relentlessly consistent in what, my purpose is. Now, how do I actually do it and stay committed?
Totally. Such a good question. So yes, it's a great point to say the God and my wife are my North Stars. As far as moving the needle in my buckets, I don't have people do more than 3. Once you get to 3, it kind of gets a little bit too much. So I have my 3 main buckets, like I mentioned, of speaking, books, and personal coaching, MBA coaching. And those are what I'm pouring into. So everything that I do is focused into those. Like there's so many distractions that I don't want to deal with. We all don't want to deal with. For me, like having an assistant helps so much, which I'm even getting better at, and not thinking that I have to get back to every email myself. Like that takes that piece off me, because that's not a needle mover for me. Like I don't want to spend my time doing 2 hours of email and social media, having people that help me with social media. I know we don't like all get that luxury to have, but main point being what you do the best, what you want to be doing the best, these buckets that you have, these 1, 2, 3 buckets, you should be spending most of your time in that. Most of your working, super focused time into those buckets, because that's what's going to move the needle to you. Now, let's say, hey, I want to be doing this. Hey, I'm ready for a breakthrough. I'm doing something that I don't necessarily want, a job that I don't necessarily want to be doing right now. And there's a couple ways to approach this. Like, yes, you can burn the ships and you can go all in and you can take this risk on yourself. Now, you got to make sure that you have the finances first to be able to go and take this risk. It's like smart risk taking. Or you can hide the ships. And I like the term hide the ships, because you pretend like they're not there. You pretend that you're all in. You still might have your job you're doing currently, so you're making just enough money to be able to provide and be able to live in a comfort zone, and you're not just struggling and thinking about where the next paycheck's going to come from. So you want to get to that baseline level, but then you're able to allocate more time towards this, more time towards your 1, 2, and 3 needle movers. And you can make check mark. Like at the end of each day, like I have my big 3 on the texting and sending out those messages. I also have my big 3 on my needle movers. And I look at the big 3 at the end of the day, and I'm like, okay, did I do something in this bucket? Did I do something in this one, in this one? And I know if I did, like if I make that tally by it, like I can feel good, that sense of accomplishment that we all want to feel at the end of the day, that I moved the needle forward in my mission. And now if I look at the end of the day too, like you got to understand, it's not always going to happen. You're not always going to hit these home run 1, 2, 3. If I just hit 1, I'm still batting .3333, which is a Hall of Famer in baseball. Like I got one of them, so that's 1% movement. I know where my buckets are, and I can get back on that horse again tomorrow. But just giving yourself, which this term it's one of my favorite terms, because everybody struggles with this so much, is just understanding to give yourself grace and pace. Like you don't have to be on the same race as everybody. You don't have to be on the same wake up at 4 a.m. Jocko Willich, and you're going to just go grind. You don't have to do that. You have your own pace. And when you don't hit things, instead of beating yourself up, give yourself grace. Like you can always get right back on that horse. There's no there's no proverbial straight line to your success. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, and understanding that is going to free you up of a lot of the pressure that you're going to put on yourself.
I love that you just gave us the ability to keep our pace with our 3 buckets and the tally marks. I'm going to start using that just to have my buckets written down somewhere and have a place to tally that, like, hey, I'm moving this needle forward, I'm moving that needle forward. Because that I think is the hardest when you finish up a day and you mentioned you have an assistant that answers emails for you. You can easily get caught up writing emails back, stuck in social media, your day evaporates, and then you feel like all of your motivation or energy has been sucked from you. That is and I'm a visual person, so that's a visual way to do that. How else can someone use visualization? You mentioned your uncle fixing up a photo of himself for his fridge. How can visualization keep us motivated and keep our mindset right?
Kelly, I love your questions. It's like you're setting me up for the next thing I want to talk about. So yes, that's one way to do it. And this is like kind of what you talked about earlier, where you have this here to make your smoothie, this here to remind you to make your coffee. These are these mental cues that we place throughout our environment. We set up our environment for success. Even if you're not focusing on this and like sitting there and staring at this picture, like I have one on my fridge of, it says breakthrough #1 New York Times bestseller. Like that is what I'm envisioning. I'm living in that. So I'm seeing it daily. I have a picture of myself with myself cut out, speaking in front of an audience of like 100,000 people, a huge sold out stadium. Like I'm living in that. Like I know it's going to happen at some time. And I'm not just sitting there looking at that fridge and just like focusing on it every single day, but I walk by it, I see it, it's becoming muscle memory burnt into my brain, these mental cues in my subconscious. So that's definitely a way to do it, a great tool. Another tool is I have players, they'll write down what their goal is. And like I said, goals are just mile markers. But I'll give you an example. A player in 2018, his name is Domas Sabonis, and he was coming off the bench at the time, and we started working. He played for the Indiana Pacers, coming off the bench. We started working together in 2018. We came out to Santa Monica, and I just asked him, "And what are your goals?" He said, "I want to be great." It's like, okay, so does everybody else. That's the most vague thing ever. What does that look like? So we came up with the plan of he wanted to be an NBA All-Star. It's like, all right, when are you going to be an NBA All-Star? Gave ourselves 2 years, like 2020. Okay, where's that game played at? Chicago, Illinois. What time is tip-off? 7:30 p.m. What's the date? February 18th. So we got super specific with our goals, not just saying, hey, I want to be great, but got this super specific goal. He put it onto his lock screen on his phone so we would see it every time he touched his phone. Literally, I think it's on average, we touch our phones 2,647 times a day on average, something like that. So you think about seeing that so many times, you live in that. And you know that every decision that you make daily is based around, like he was so driven that he was going to get to that point. 2020 rolls around, February 18th. You got to remember, Sabonis was coming off the bench. Bench players don't just make all-star games. He is an all-star 2020, 2 years later in Chicago, Illinois. And now he is one of the top 10, 15 players in the NBA. Because, yes, one, he has an insatiable drive, but also he had a plan. He had this structure that he was going to know that, hey, this is where I want to get. Now he's got other goals since he hit that. He wants to become a Hall of Famer and many more other than that. So there's another tool for you. Utilize your phone. This thing that can be a dangerous tool, the phone, can also be used as a great tool. It's funny how that works. It's just like a hammer. A hammer can be used as an amazing tool to build a beautiful home. And it can also be the most vicious murder weapon there is. It's just how you use these tools. So you have the visualization of the person that you want to be, of what you're living in. You can actually have that picture. You can have your goals on a lock screen. And then one of the most powerful ones, Kelly, is what I call the highlight reel 2.0. So the highlight reel 2.0 is not just your best day, your best talk you gave, your best basketball game if you're a player, or hey, maybe you made an amazing meal for your kids and you were just on fire, like you're in the zone moment. But it's imagining what your best can look like. So yes, getting the confidence from you've done this great thing before, But how can you even improve that? Like it's me speaking on stage in front of 100,000 people. But I'm not just seeing that. Like I'm feeling it. I'm taking myself 20,000 feet above, looking down, watching myself walk back and forth on the stage. I hear my walk-up song. Like I can even bring in the smells of the audience. I can bring in just like the whole feel, trying to bring in every sense to it. And if you can tie it to smell, if you can tie this highlight reel to taste, you can tie it to all these different feelings, it makes it even more powerful and even more real. So I sit down like in my morning routine, I have this time and it's literally like 15 seconds, 20 seconds where I visualize this. It gives me a lot of confidence. Like I know I'm going to get there and it's going to be, it's a matter of time. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen on a timing much better than mine. But yeah, so just to sum it up, those three tools there and do this, like cut out a picture of yourself or something that you want to be and put it on the fridge. So you see it every day. Write down your specific goals, very specific as mile markers, put it on your lock screen, and then create your highlight reel 2.0. And that once again, these are the choices. Like this is a choice. Your highlight reel doesn't have to be what anybody else says it has to be. It can be completely what you want it to be. It can be, hey, David Nurse, you're an NBA coach. You're a basketball coach. All you are is basketball. How are you going to be a best-selling author? No, vote for yourself daily. You make these votes for yourself every single day by these type of actions that you take.
Well, we started the podcast and you mentioned that most of us have 80% negative thoughts about ourselves. And after learning all of your tips, I feel like whether it's a visualization, having your buckets and your goals, and setting yourself up in a way where you are having more positive thoughts than negative thoughts, I can't imagine how anyone wouldn't have a breakthrough, move their own needle, reach their very specific goals faster without this kind of structure.
Yeah, but you know why they don't? Is because they give up. Like I'm a firm believer you can pretty much accomplish anything that you want. Now, maybe there's limitations like me and you playing in the NBA. We're not tall enough, or maybe our verticals aren't high enough. So some limitations like that, but there's other ways in the NBA. So I'm a firm believer in you can accomplish anything that you want within those constraints if you don't give up. But all of these tools are great. All the tools that we teach and people teach, like, yeah, it's great. And it's great to have this knowledge, like this day and age we live in. All of us high performers, we consume books, we consume podcasts, and we just learn. We go to seminars, we learn and learn and learn and get all this knowledge. But like there has to be action with it. There has to be action without give up. And I'm gonna hammer this point out because I think it's one of the most important points for people to hear. I'm gonna bring it back to the philosophical days to make myself sound really smart with philosophy, and stoicism is like the hot thing right now, but I'm going to flip that on its head. So pre-Socratic era, before these Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, these guys, there's this term called techne, and techne literally is translated the art of doing, the art of doing. Now these three guys come along and they implement episteme. Episteme is the art of knowledge. And that's what they base all their teachings on. And that's great. Like this knowledge that we're all having, like this is, it's phenomenal. We need this. But without the techne, without the art of action, the art of doing, none of this matters. If you take all this in you here today and you don't take action, it doesn't matter. You take it all in today and you take action 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it doesn't matter. If you give up when it's difficult, it doesn't matter. Like I think the number is like 7.2 like complete failures, complete flops from people who have been termed massive successes, like Walt Disney getting fired by the Kansas City Star because he wasn't creative enough, or Colonel Sanders getting rejected 1,009 times before it became his recipe for the chicken KFC. Like 7.2 times these successful people go through extreme quote unquote failures, roadblocks that would hold most people back. But because they don't give up, they make these pivots, that's when they're able to see their true breakthroughs, their true greatness happen.
I'm sure it takes confidence to to get back up and quote unquote fail faster, which is one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah.
Be the person that fails faster. Get back up, learn from your mistakes, don't hold yourself back. Well, you know, because you work with the best of the best, that personal daily habits lead to functioning at your highest level. So I'm really curious, what are some of your personal daily habits and what do you suggest to your clients?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I got a few non-negotiables and then I got a lot of other habits, but definitely having a morning routine. And I know a lot of you guys know how important the morning routine is, but I'm going to give you one piece of it that has been a game changer for me, maybe even two. When I get up, I take an ice cold shower, 3-minute ice cold shower. Yes, there's a lot of health benefits to it, but the biggest thing for me is what I call mental dictatorship. And I've done personal studies on this by carrying a stopwatch to these NBA workouts for years and years. And when somebody didn't want to do the workout, I'd hit start, see how long it took for them, for their mind to take over what their body was saying. And on average, it was around 17 seconds. So I know every morning when I get into this ice cold shower, I hate it. I don't want to do it. I loathe it, but I know after 17 seconds, I'm fine. And it gives me a lot of confidence. Like, hey, no matter what I go through today, like I'm going to be able to get through it because I already got through this thing. I have this mental dictatorship with me. So that's the first thing I do. And I don't turn my phone on. Well, I have it on airplane mode unless I'm traveling and I need to be there in case my wife needs me. I have it on airplane mode because I don't want to wake up and see 37 text messages, 9 WhatsApp, 4 line from China, 45 unread emails, and just get constantly bombarded from the start of the day. Like I want my slow, quiet, I call it my praise and coffee time, where I have praise music playing, soft, soothing praise music. I'm making my coffee. I'm a coffee nut, Kelly gourmet, just the best roasted beans in a Chemex coffee, the whole process of it. And then I'll sit overlooking the water, which I've got an amazing view, seeing the sun come up. But I'll sit there and for 5 minutes and have no agenda, just time to myself. It's my time talking to God. And literally, it usually lasts about 2 minutes. And I start thinking about so many other things and my mind is racing all over the place. But this time is so valuable to me. I had some of my greatest thoughts, greatest creative thoughts just by being quiet into myself. And then I'll journal. I'll write down, like I said, the big 3. I'll write down my little joys from the day before. I'll write as many down as I can. I'll write down what I'm looking forward to. I'll write down, I have a place of like, how can I fill my wife's love tank today? I'll write these down, who I'm praying for. I'll read some type of devotional or some type of, I like to read from the Bible and read it very slowly and try to figure out like, okay, how was Jesus leading in this sense? Because I think he's the best leader that ever lived. Whether you believe it or not, like he was a great leader. So I try to take these little leadership tactics and tools from him. And then I'll go into a workout. So that morning routine lasts about 40 minutes. And I'll go into a workout and like I enjoy lifting weights. So that's kind of my thing that I do. Mix it up every once in a while. But I tell people like, and I'm sure you do as well, the best workout you can do is the one you do, that you consistently do, that you enjoy. And I know my in the zone, my green zone time where I'm getting my most creative, best writing done, speech development, next book is in the morning right after that workout. My mind will be on fire. I've got about 2.5 hours of that. And then I'll have a halftime. So I'm big on halftime. This isn't talked about much. Halftime, basically, in the sports sense is, okay, the first half happened. Now you get to analyze that first half. And you can change your game plan. You can figure out how to attack your second half. So in my day at noon, I have an alarm that goes off. And I just spend 5 minutes where I'll think about, okay, what went great from the first half of the day? Like, where can I change? What do I have upcoming? And it gives us an ability to make adjustments. Because a lot of times there'll be crazy things that happen in our morning. Or, man, our morning routine got thrown off. Or, of course, people that have kids, like there's so many variables, but you don't have to let a bad first half dominate the entire game. So I have that halftime, 5 minutes, and second half of the day is more for interacting with people where I know I don't have to be in my deep thinking, deep zone mode. I'll actually put my phone on airplane mode when I don't have calls or anything scheduled, so I'm not tempted to swipe through Instagram, or I'm not tempted to check my messages or any notifications. So I get my best work done what I call the airplane mode zone. I've literally joked with my wife. We love going to Hawaii. And on that 5-hour flight, like I get so much done because it's just that freeing feeling of there is no internet. And I wish planes would all have no internet. And just knowing that you don't have to be on is a great feeling. And then I have an evening routine where me and my wife will have a closing time. We'll discuss it the night before, like what time are we shutting down? Is it 5? Is it 6? And that way we know that we're going to be intentional with our time together. We'll put our phones on airplane mode again. And once again, I know when you have kids, like it's not necessarily that same, but you find your rhythm with it. And we'll be fully intentional with each other. And instead of just spending time where we both be on our phones or something like that, like we're fully intentional with each other. We have our evening routine where we're winding down. And one of the biggest things that we do that's just so powerful for our relationship and our marriage is before we go to bed, we give each other 7 kisses right before we go to bed. We saw this on an interview of a couple that have been together for like 59 years. Like that's their key that they said, but it's great because everybody talks about not going to bed angry, not going to bed mad. And it's really hard to go to bed mad when you're committed to giving 7 kisses. It's tough to kiss somebody when you're mad. So that's one of the biggest things that we do. But yeah, I guess that's kind of an overview. There's some other things here and there. And if I don't hit these things, I don't beat myself up about it. Like I travel a ton, so it's flexible, but those are my most important, what I would say, more non-negotiables.
No, it's beautiful the way that you start your morning. I think, having time with God just really probably brings you into your most deepest service and understanding like why you're here, which is to build relationships, to help other people. And you do that. And I think that type of mindset really puts you in that place of gratitude and allows you to serve at the level that you do, which is something I'm definitely inspired by, like more than anything, is just looking at my pizza and cutting up that time to say, like, how can I carve more time in airplane mode? And how can I really dive into these super important buckets for my relationship with God, my family, my kids? You have this special time with your wife in the evening. And if you guys decide to have kids, it'll just get earlier. You'll just, it'll just be sort of that after school hour to the bath time and bedtime hour. And then if you do have to dip back in for a minute on work, you may, and then you dip back into airplane mode. So you just shift your hours around, but you dedicate that time to your family, and it's like the most rewarding for sure. So I love hearing what your non-negotiables are. And I think they really align with what's worked for you and your clients, which is to provide you with confidence, to get you in the mindset of service and gratitude, to become relentlessly consistent doing what you do and not having vague goals, to really get to your all-star status. So David, thank you so much for spending the time here on the podcast with me today. I'm super motivated to write down my buckets. I'm super motivated to get in a 3-minute cold shower and to prove to myself I can make it through those 17 seconds. But really I so appreciate your time. I'm really grateful for it. I know that there are a lot of people that want to have these breakthroughs, that don't want to have fear dictate their life, and that know, hey, maybe I just need to write down the things that I want to do every day and put a hash next to it when I get it done. I mean, I am down for 1 in 3 record, or 33% batting average, I guess. So I'm going to start there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Kelly, you're amazing. Can I speak on this just real quick? Is the kids point too, like you said, is like, we're going to have kids. And I love how you said it changes up, but it's the best thing. Like I'll hear from a lot of people, well, oh, you don't have kids yet. Just wait till you have kids. No, like I'll enjoy that more because we've made the decision that that's how we want to live our life, whether it is all the craziness that comes with kids, but you look at that with joy, and you do that at a extremely high level. And I know this by speaking to other people about you, that your name has come up in friendship relationships that we have. And whenever they say your name, it's like a big smile comes across their face and they just speak the world of you. So you to be able to do this at the pace that you do this at is phenomenal. And even to hear like, hey, you're trying to improve, you're trying to get better. Because from the outside, a lot of people will see, oh, Kelly LeVeque, she's got it all figured out. She's got it all together. But your vulnerability that it's like, oh, I'm still trying. Like I'm daily putting this in is, I think that's extremely powerful.
Oh, well, that's really sweet. That makes me smile. I'm obsessed with my kids, and I'm obsessed with learning. The science of nutrition makes me really happy. And I would say that's my obsessed bucket. I'm super committed to that, but all of the personal growth and what I've seen in the last decade with my clients, like I'm learning from them all the time. And there's so many teachable moments for me there too. And you'll see when you have kids, they're the greatest teacher. And that's cliche, but it's so true. And man, does it get you laser focused on your goals and time, how you want to spend your time. You're going to be a great dad, David. I know it.
Thanks, Kelly. Thank you.
Well, where can people follow along and where can they find you? I know Pivot and Go is already out. Breakthrough is coming. Where do you like people to follow you?
Yeah, social media, Instagram and Twitter, David Nurse MBA, website, davidnurse.com, where I do just really cool, fun breakthrough coaching for people that want to be able to make their passion, their career. And it's just this iron sharpens iron community that we have going. So that's all there at the website. And yeah, Breakthrough comes out November 30th and everywhere you can find books. It's in all the Barnes and Nobles as well. And if it does well, which it's going to get that New York Times thing because it's on the fridge,
then everybody will have it.
There it is.
Out there.
That's your homework, guys. Go to Barnes and Nobles and get it. Don't just do Amazon. Support the local bookstores. But yeah, Kelly, thanks for this opportunity. I have a podcast as well, and I would love to have you on that someday and just blow away the audience. But yeah, thank you for being you. I appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you for listening to Be Well by Kelly. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Learn more at bewellbykelly.com and follow me on Instagram at bewellbykelly. I would love if you picked up my books, Body Love and Body Love Every Day. They're sold on Amazon and at all major booksellers.